Paranormal experiences don't really work to a timescale, and therefore, for the spooky season, and indeed for the whole of Season 13, we invite you to listen to a Dark Minisode. That's right, welcome everyone to our very first Minisode. In between the episodes of the Dark Paranormal throughout Season 13, we are going to bring you a selection of some of the shorter, paranormal, true experiences that have been submitted and stored away over the many years of me asking people to send me their real-life paranormal experiences. Consider these Dark Minisodes to be small appetizers in between our main episodes. There will be no special effects, there will be nothing other than the experience as it was explained to me. And we will have everything from head scratches to things which will keep you up at night. Now, with our explanations out of the way, that's enough hyperbole from me. And let's jump right in to our first ever Dark Minisode. Hi, Kevin. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to your podcast. Thank you for all the creepy content. Whilst I've not experienced anything personally, I'd like to share a family story, one that's left a considerable impact on me, and I still think about it all the time. My husband and I are looking to buy our first house, and this story is the reason I'm terrified we'll accidentally buy a haunted house. Sorry if this is a bit lengthy, but in my opinion, it's worth the read. I'm from North Carolina, and these events took place in the central part of the state, in the mid-80s. My aunt and uncle were recently married and had moved into their first home. They didn't notice anything off at first, but small things started happening. My uncle worked a sales job and as a result had to travel relatively often. He was on a business trip and my aunt was working on decorating the house. She was on a ladder, planning to hang a picture, when she heard the garage door open. It was too early for my uncle to be home, but she figured that he'd just caught an earlier flight. She heard the door open and footsteps come towards her. She said, "Hello?" and "Welcome home," but she got no response. Again, she didn't think too much of it, figuring her husband was just tired from the trip. She finished hanging the picture and got off the ladder to go and find her husband. But searching the house, she found no one. And there was no car in the garage. Being a young couple, my aunt and uncle enjoyed having friends over. So every year, they would host a big Halloween bash. After everyone had left, they started cleaning up. And my aunt noticed drops of blood on the carpet leading upstairs. They'd blocked the upstairs off to keep anyone from going into the bedrooms during the party. But the blood led up to one of the spare bedrooms and ended in a small pool on the floor. My aunt asked my uncle if anyone had been hurt, but to their knowledge, no one had. So they just cleaned it up and they didn't think about it again. The next year, during the same party, the same spots appeared once more. Thinking it was maybe an old stain that was somehow coming back through the carpet, they pulled up the carpet and replaced it with hardwood floors. But the following Halloween, much to their chagrin, the same spots appeared. They would also hear a grandfather clock chiming at 3 a.m. nearly every night. Yes, grandfather clocks are old, and they can make mistakes. But they didn't own a grandfather clock, and there wasn't one anywhere in the house. My aunt was also plagued with vivid nightmares and rarely got a good night's sleep. The most horrifying experience, and what prompted them to pack up and move, happened after they had children. They had 2 daughters, one around 5 years old and the other around 3. My aunt had given them some Cheerios and set them in front of their favourite cartoon while she ran to grab a quick shower. Midway through that shower, 2 child-sized hands, bloody and burnt, smacked against the glass shower door. My aunt screamed, threw the door open, and found an empty bathroom. She ran in to check on the kids and found her eldest daughter moments from disaster. Her daughter had decided to get some more Cheerios, which were kept in a cabinet above the stove. She'd pushed a chair up to the stove and climbed on top. After retrieving her Cheerios, she began playing with the knobs on the electric stove, turning them on. The eye of the stove was red hot, and she decided it would be a good idea to see what it felt like, and was reaching out to touch it, just as my aunt rushed in and stopped her. Now, even though the hands on the shower door served as a warning that helped my aunt prevent my cousin from being burnt, it was just too much for them, and they, unsurprisingly, moved out not long after. Since hearing these stories, I've often inquired about their validity, because as someone who's never experienced anything paranormal, it seems a bit wild to have these experiences. But my aunt swears to this day that they're all true, and she very seldom talks about it, because she says she's afraid that talking about it will cause the activity to start in their new home. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. In today's society, we're inundated with what's good for your physical health. A good night's sleep, good food, good nutrition. But what happens when you can't get that good night's sleep? Every decision you've made that day ruminating around your head. Many of us ignore our mental health either because we're so busy or because it's just not for us. We're not one of those people. Well, I thought that too, but then I started therapy, and let me tell you from first-hand experience, it's completely changed my life. My issue was boundaries. I had none, it turns out, and I wasn't aware of this or the impact it was having on my life. Therapy has given me those boundaries. It's given me tools to deal with those ruminating thoughts. It's allowed me to become a lot calmer within myself. If you've thought even once, would I benefit from therapy, then you 100% should give it a go. And a great option is BetterHelp. It's entirely online, it works around your schedule, and a quick questionnaire will match you with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Trust me, make that first step. Go to betterhelp.com/Dark Paranormal today and receive 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Dark Paranormal. Our next experience comes in from Hannah, who writes, "In my second year of uni in Leicester, myself and 7 of all my friends had booked an 8-bedroom house for the year. And whilst it was a little run down, we thought it was a good match for us. When we viewed it, we were so desperate to get a large house, and it was the only one available. We overlooked the massive clown mural in the back garden and decided it probably doesn't matter because we'd hardly used the garden. I know this sounds unbelievable, but honestly, there was a giant clown mural on the wall of the garden. Well, luckily, my bedroom was at the front of the house, and the living room and kitchen were in the basement, so I rarely saw the mural, and I basically forgot it was there. However, after about a week or so, things got a little creepy. One of the girls, who had a room on the ground floor, was in the shower one day with her bathroom door open when she saw a shadow that looked like a child run past. She brushed this off and thought it must have just been something like a car going past outside. So a few days later, she comes back from uni and all of her posters had been ripped from her wall. Not fallen, ripped. The doors had been locked and no one would have been in her room or even done that. Then things went calm for a while, but we started to notice patterns. The creepiest thing was, whenever there was a male in the house, weird things would happen. For example, whenever I had a boyfriend stay over, there would be a massive thud by my bedroom door, which was round the corner and out of eyeshot. And this never happened when I was alone. It only happened when I was alone in the house with my boyfriend. It literally sounded like someone dropped a stack of books. Every time we'd go and investigate, there was nothing there. No one outside of the room. Another weird one was once when me and my boyfriend went downstairs to the basement to cook our lunch. And when we came back up, there was a smaller than both of ours anyway, handprint on the window, which had started to steam up due to the poor single glazing. Well, this creeped us both out, as there was no children in the house at the time. Anyway, other creepy stuff started happening, including a guy that was staying with us for a few months. He was up in the middle of the night playing Xbox in the basement because he couldn't sleep, when the kitchen tap turned on, full blast. He went over and turned it off, and came back to play the Xbox. 2 minutes later, the tap was on again, full blast. Safe to say he ran back to his room and didn't go down to the basement alone in the middle of the night again. The only other thing that happened to me personally was that once, whilst washing the dishes, I felt someone push the back of my leg. I turned around, thinking one of my housemates had crept up on me, but no one was there. Weird, I know. Anyway, the creepiest, but also the saddest part, is that we found out from the estate agent that the reason for the clown mural and the fact all 8 bedrooms had ensuite bathrooms was that the house used to be a children's hospice. How heartbreaking is that? But also, how terrifying. My final story is from when I worked in a corner shop. I used to work late often, as the 6 till 10 p.m. shift was my most convenient. When we used to close the shop, we'd first lower the outdoor shutter, which made the glass front completely reflective, and it felt like you had a mirror at the front of the shop. Well, many times whilst I was alone in the shop, other than my manager in the office at the back, I would see shadows moving around in the reflection. I once went to lower the covers on the refrigerator units, and whilst I was sat down hooking the cover under the base of the unit, I saw someone stood behind me from the corner of my eye. I got so creeped out that I just stopped looking at the front of the store whenever the shutters were down, and I hated being in that store alone. Also, whenever I worked the tills, which was in an area of the store that had been extended, I used to feel like someone was pushing the small of my back every so often, and I always felt cold in that spot. And then someone told me that they always used to come into that store 30 or 40 years before, and someone had been stabbed on that bit of land where the store had been extended over. Not cool. Not cool at all, Hannah, and thank you so much for that submission, which I've retrieved from our archives. That brings us to the end of our very first Dark Minisode. Now remember, all of these experiences have been taken from my archive of true paranormal experiences. And although they are exceptionally rare to encounter, you know my ethos on this show. I believe not only do these things exist, not only do these things happen, but they are also just waiting. Maybe waiting for me, maybe waiting for the person listening in their headphones on the bus, maybe waiting for that person laying on the couch, wondering if they heard a strange noise come from the kitchen. My point being, we should be afraid of the dark paranormal, because it's there, and it's real. And on Friday, I'll speak to you again to give you another true paranormal experience. But until then, let's tell ourselves that noise was the house settling and that shadow was just a passing car. And so, until Friday, take care.